Damn, we switch part. The boys are back.
Yes,
How are you,
sir.
Chris?
We back. We back. Quarters. I'm disappointed, but I'm content. How are you doing?
Yeah. The Dan Carters of podcasting were back. And you know what? Okay, before we get into it, church announcements, where we're on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts. You can find us there as well. And yeah, I
Hmm.
have to say, I called them fraudulent. A lot of things were said. A lot of things in maybe poor taste were said. I said they had to pay the piper, but it's time for me to pay my fine, actually. You know what? It's time for me to pay my fine. Yeah, it's time for me to pay my fine. I have to say, well done to Ireland on the win.
Yeah. Look, well done to them on the win. But I wouldn't put that on just yet because yes, there were aspects of the game that were exposed to be fraudulent.
Yeah,
Line out for one. You know, I think in that aspect, the Boks really didn't allow them to generate the attack that they
yeah.
usually get from the line out. So they stopped that. But and at the same time, look, as much as Ireland won that game, the Boks also lost it. You know,
Yeah. Let's actually
so
start there. Let's start there because before we even get into the game, it's more about the reaction because that's what's going on right now. The reaction
mm,
basically is get Pollard in,
aye,
because and it's a reaction to the missed kicks.
knee jerk. That's just knee jerk.
Yeah, if we're being honest, he has to play against Tonga next game, Sunday, 9 o'clock. He'll be there. As they say, he'll be there.
Yeah, but I think he was always going to be there in any case.
Yeah,
After they brought him in, he was always going to play against
yeah,
Tonga for game time in the World Cup. I think that would have been very risky to not even play him there, to see how he goes. And it's a big physical game,
yeah.
against Tonga. And it becomes a very important game as well because, it's their last game and they'll be wanting to, at least sign off on a good note. So we have to be extra alert, But
But I think Ireland
like,
are more in that danger in terms of having to play Scotland. I don't think we're in any danger at all. To be quite honest
yeah,
with you, I believe we'll see a similar side that we saw against Romania, except Pollard in the mix and possibly
yeah,
Dion Ferree starting because Bongi,
starting, yeah,
he needs a bit of a break. Dion, we need to see you at 2.
mm, yeah, yes. So immediately that reaction of bring Pollard in. Oh, look, they are going to put him in any case for the next game. But if you're talking in terms of the next a knockout game, a big game, I still say no.
Yeah,
Yes, if you bring him in maybe on the bench, fine. But I still say Money's the guy. He's been given the keys. The our attack. He's able to get something out of it. So no, it's okay. You know, it's
yeah,
okay. And mind you, those kicks as well. For me, it's almost when you look at it, that's a rehearsal. You know, that's a rehearsal for when it's going to count the most. And I believe that when
yeah.
it's going to count the most, the right decisions will be made. It will be made. And I think partly, especially with the penalty kicks. The opportunity was there to go for the line, but the Boks chose not to. The,
That's
the, the Boks
exactly,
hardly
yeah.
played in this game where they were intentional. It's almost as if it was really based on, okay, defense versus attack, and whatever we get, to attack if we can, let's go for it. But
The thing is,
yeah,
we just need to make peace with the fact that we don't have Francois Steyn is not in this team. We don't have a long distance kicker. We need to make peace
simple.
with that fact. If we're talking about lessons learned, that can be a lesson learned that Rassie must sometimes that light, he must put it down and he must let the boys play. Because this
Yeah.
thing of even to me, I feel like it was a game of poor decision making, but we'll dive a bit deeper into that. As for Pollard,
Mm-hmm.
Pollard is not the savior of SA rugby. Pollard is not
No.
going to come in. Pollard, as much as we're the Dan Carters of podcasting, Pollard is not Dan Carter. Pollard is not, and people are carrying on like Pollard is Dan Carter. Pollard
No.
has his own positive attributes. He's a World Cup winner. He looks like a fly half, but he has, it's revisionist history. We're looking back with rose-tinted glasses, and we're acting like this guy is a player that he's not. He's a player that has limitations, that also misses kicks on the world stage, misses tackles on the world stage. His distribution game is sometimes found wanting. He loves a good crash ball. It's not to run him down. It's just to say that, for me, he's not going to come and save us. We can only save ourselves.
Exactly. It's a joint effort to saving ourselves, where, I think they'll go back and they'll look at, okay, the aspects where, they didn't get right. It wasn't the kicking. It was the inefficiencies at the breakdown, where looking after our own ball, we just didn't look after our ball well enough. We allowed them that little window, we're not
individual, it's individual runners, and then you're not making meters. Those two, when you put those two together against Ireland, it's a turnover.
Exactly.
So if you're going to go by yourself, you better make the meters.
And also a lack of patience on attack. I think there were times when we were there, we could afford to, be a bit more patient. I think we fell into that trap of that intensity where now we wanted to score and score now, and we didn't look after the ball there. All things that are easily fixed, and look, that's why I'm content. I'm not worried because, it would have highlighted what needs to be done going forward, But yes, in this game, it was just they dominated physically. Boks dominated. It was just decision making. That
I've watched the game for a second time, and like there's a narrative that the Boks got bullied in certain aspects of the game, and I really speaking. I know we're Boks supporters here, but there was no bullying going on. It was a contest. And if World Rugby believes, if everyone out there believes that a contest is bullying against the Boks, it just shows how dominant we can be on our day. That even 50-50s are now seen as bullying and dominant. Winning a scrum against us. Obviously, any team can win a scrum against anyone. You have your days.
Yes, it's down to the pictures, and we know even at scrum time, if they get the setup just a little bit wrong, it can create a different picture for the ref, blow against us, or we can technically just a little bit not set properly. Those things, they do happen. So, for the majority of the time, we were dominating them. For the majority of the time, you'd argue, if you had to look at it from a physical stakes point of view, is that those guys that were hanging on it, more than we were. Whenever we had the ball, and they just. It was our own inaccuracies at the breakdown in looking after our ball. That's where I believe we lost the game. Especially when it looked like we were about to build that momentum. They had that ability, that stop ability. That we were talking about, and that we missed with Marks. That's something that we must also highlight. We didn't get quite as many turnovers on their ball. They were very good. In sending the numbers in. To secure the ball very quickly. That's one thing that we always knew that they were going to do. But that being said, I still believe, look, the Boks taking all their chances, it's one that they lost.
Yeah, if we now look deeper into the game and we look at a few moments, obviously it came against the backdrop of the 7-1 split. The bench, that's the talk of the town, besides the second alternative kit, which I don't know, I've never heard second alternative before. But 7-1 split, for me, the issue with it, the whole thing comes down to decision making. Because as much as those kicks, it was decision making, we shouldn't be kicking from, when have you known Faf de Klerk to be kicking from his own half? When have you, in that same decision making, the bench as well, for me, it was decision making. The times that certain guys went on, the times when certain guys went off, to me, it worked at times, it didn't work at times. I don't know if that's management of players. It's a long tournament, so we can't we can't run these guys into the ground. Because, I mean, 48 minutes, Mostert goes off. Mostert, I think he got about 4 steals or disruptions in the line out. I think Etzebeth had about 1. Kitshoff and Visa went off. 3 minutes later, Kolisi goes off. So I wouldn't say it was a tactic that didn't work, or it was a tactic that it went bad. I think that the timing of it wasn't. But like I said, maybe you just don't want to run these guys into the ground.
Yeah, that, and maybe also, looking at the injury factor, risk factor there in terms of going forward, looking ahead. And also at the same time, it's, you have to look at it from this way. It's also the coach backing the players that are in the squad, to say, the guys can come on and still do the job, and
but they kept Fef on until 5 minutes, because they know we need this guy. So that's why I say, when it gets to now semifinals and finals, quarterfinals, big players have to play big minutes. I understand Kolisi is coming off an injury, Etzebeth also coming off an injury. If you can see Mostert is playing like this, you're also saying, hey, maybe we can't also afford to lose this guy. Let's make changes. Kitshoff. And it was big guys that are big towards the way that we play. So I guess that's what it's down to.
Yes, I see that, quotes, and I still say, even with the guys coming on, I think the idea there with that 7-1 split was always to come in and, and just and keep on bashing that door down and put the foot on the throat. They just didn't quite get the right grip this time around, and I think it can only bode well for us, and at the same time, I think in a different match, different scenario, that may happen where guys get subbed earlier than expected, whether that be through injury or whatever the case may be. So I think also just seeing what that injection looks like at different stages, I think you'd rather learn that now, in a big game, a tough game against Ireland, than, and try something like that in the quarterfinal. I think going forward, they already know the blend that they want to put together. That's why I'm content, man, because the riches are there. It's just I think it's the thing that we've been saying. We said it from the beginning. Selection is the only thing that can cost this team.
And I felt like today, I mean, on game day, it went wrong for me. Besides the kicking, I felt like it went wrong at certain times. But besides that, Ireland, they were dangerous in terms of they hung in there physically. They disrupted us at the breakdown.
And they made that pass.
And they were able to make that pass, that dangerous pass. There's times where they caught Kirtley out a bit, the centers as well, they caught them, and they're able to make that pass out wide. But I will say, when they did make that pass, we did scramble well in defense. There wasn't a line break that caused the try. After that, maybe defensively, we should have been more patient. Even when it comes to their try, it was penalty advantage. I think we were trying to get the ball instead of just relying on the defense. But even in that sense, I'm happy with the defense. And at the end of the day, you're also playing against pros that can attack. So when you see, it's not a big scoreline. 13 points is not a big scoreline.
No, it's not. And look, obviously we were calling for the Boks to win, which, on the balance they should have. But at the end of the day, to keep that attack down to 1 score, you have to say it's a very good defensive effort when you look at the overall test, So again, that there's things that they have to look at, like what you're saying, is it those little in-game adjustments to say, okay, these guys are making that pass, or showing them a different picture, whether there is that capability or sort of adaptability within that defense, something that we have to see, because sometimes you can't always defend the same way, because a different kind of team that can make that pass can capitalize off the scramble, that chaos. Because once they started creating that chaos, especially close to the breakdown, you saw we did look a bit more vulnerable around there. And we know Ireland like playing around there, going forward, teams will be looking to try and get us, around that breakdown area, especially going back to, finding lazy runners or weak shoulders in those spaces. So, yeah, but overall, I think defense is good. We just need to be a bit careful, especially in the centers, because things were looking. It was a bit scary at times.
The only thing I will say, Jesse Creel didn't do Kolisi any favors there on the line. Some people are saying it's Kolisi's fault, but that pass, he should have just taken it. He should have just recycled. I will say, in terms of centers, Dialendi had a strong game. I was happy with the way he carries big hits,
bastard of the
especially
day.
a man that, and I mean, especially someone that recent weeks they've been calling for him to be dropped, and he shows up.
Yeah, look, I think one thing we know, one thing we know is that there's guys that have confirmed themselves as, okay, these guys are big game players, and he's one of them, because this was a big game. You can say whether he felt the pressure or not, but obviously the outside noise, and he came up with the answers. He got us good front football. He did what a South African top traditionally does, especially in tight games like that, gain the meters, and the other guys, I think that played really well around him. He is Willemse, you could see that,
big game from Willemse. I was a bit worried because personally, I'm more of a Willie man myself. I like that double pivot, but I think he capitalizes more when the kicks are deep, making those meters. So
yeah, he has that ability to beat first man, on the return, as well. So there's that. But I also believe that with time, he's also in that reckoning to be that dual playmaker role, because he can't do it, I mean, and we've seen it with him and Libbok at the Stormers, and I think something is brewing there, and I hope for him,
I agree.
We can see some of his
magic, he's finding form at the right time. His trajectory is going like this. He's finding form at the right time. So I'm happy for it to continue at 15 there, I have to say.
And look, also let's be honest as well, I'm not that I'm singling out this guy, but you could see that, there's something missing, especially in the 13 channel, from attack, because the ball sort of, outside of that one time where you try to get that offload away, but the ball sort of almost died there, 13. There wasn't anything else. There wasn't any sort of maybe footwork to try get into space.
I've long made peace with the fact that we can expect little to nothing attacking wise from Jesse Creel, and that's just the limitation of the player. It's just the limitation of the play.
Yeah, that's all that I'm highlighting. Is that you could see that there's something missing. There was that juice missing there, because even that offload try.
Are you calling for Moody? Are you calling? Do you want the phone? Are you calling for Moody?
No, you can see where I'm going with this thing, man. You can see where I'm going with this thing. Is that, because he can defend. We've seen that. You understand what I'm saying? He can read attacks, and he's got that something that can keep the attack alive, as young as he is, but he's got the head, and I think we sitting with a potential weapon there that can help us, unleash the backline properly. That's just my view, is that he's in the squad.
I agree. I don't agree in terms of Moody playing, but I do agree in terms of him being.
Anti-Francis was 21 or whatever it is, so why can't Moody play? Well, no,
I agree. Why? He offers more of an attacking threat. I agree. Why? I agree. Why? I believe in the center partnership for now. I it's the same thing like Libbok. I can't say that they must replace Libbok because of certain things. Like he played well enough. It's the same thing. He played well enough.
He did, but there's gonna be we're gonna need some extra juice there. You know what I mean? Just a little bit. Yeah, look, I'm not saying the center partnership is not working out. That's not what I'm saying. I would just like to see a different picture. Because let's say what happens if he gets injured, then Jesse Cream.
Then we know Moody's coming in anyway. We know we light there.
We light there. So
and even talking about injuries, even if we're being very, very honest, if we're being very, very, very honest, okay, I will give it to Dion Fourie that line out. There was a line out around 70 minutes that they said was skew. That wasn't skew. Yeah. That was just because they know he's not a hooker. But that penalty in front of the poles, the scrum penalty that Ireland scored their last points, it looked like it was coming from the middle. It looked like we first knee on the ground was from the middle. So if we're talking about injuries and calls, we can only work with what we can work with. We can't go back in time. But for me, Dweba, that's not a penalty. If Dweba's playing, that's not a penalty.
Yeah, you see, that's where now it's the different aspects or strengths and weaknesses when they're offsetting against each other, and I think the gamble was more on that, on the scrum, to say, okay, at least there, because of the props that we've got, there's a bit more protection, a bit more cover, a bit more insurance there,
Which they did, because when Malherbe was under pressure, Trev came on and won scrum penalties. And I also think, I think that actually sums up the whole game, is the fact that they get a scrum penalty, they make the 3 points, we get a scrum penalty, we miss. That's ultimately the difference between, like Al Pacino says, inches. There's inches, small margins in this game.
Exactly. Because, who can you say they didn't have a good shift? Like a good outing in terms of, it was a high-level test match.
The only person I can say is that I won't say a bad game, but I don't think Kolisi showed up in a way that he
wasn't his best.
Yeah, it wasn't. I don't think he'll even be proud of that performance.
Well, it wasn't classic, it wasn't classic Sia, but I think it was just the nature of the game, of that game itself, where, you had to be doing the more of the unseen things, as well. So that's why, I still maintain, I'm content. The riches are there. It's just the selection that is going to kill us, and we don't need to panic, man. We don't need to panic.
Ultimately, what has this game cost us? Facing the All Blacks or facing France? Either way, both are dangerous. France, they're missing their starting 9 and 10. Or you want to face the All Blacks that they'll always be the All Blacks. They'll always be dangerous.
Yeah.
So
as much as I don't think they the same. They got wounded pretty badly by South Africa pre-World Cup. So they're in a bad spot. But either way, the World Cup is just you do or die either way. So it doesn't matter who you're playing against, it's do or die, So
even this thing about easy roads to the final. You want an easy road, but then you lose in the final. Because that's all they're doing on that other side. Yeah. They said Australia had an easy thing to the final. Look at where they are now. So I don't even believe in that easy road to the final thing, because you'll get to the semifinals and lose. Either way, we have to pass through one of the top teams. So France or New Zealand,
wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah,
wouldn't have it any other way. It's almost like they said, what's the toughest way? Let's lose one game. Let's do it again. It doesn't a one-hit wonder.
For me, the only things, in terms of brushing up on things, just be more patient in defense, even in attack, like you said, more patient in terms of not forcing it. Like Creel, when he popped that ball, maybe he's just forcing it too much. We went wide early. Even from kickoff, we went wide, which our restarts were good, but sometimes we're just forcing it. And sometimes here's another problem that we're also having with our pattern is when we're not getting go forward, we're just forcing it wide. And it's that thing of you must earn the right to go wide. So we're getting caught a bit there. But in terms of everything else, I just think Rassie must put down the light, let the boys play. There's no long range kicker here. We must just make peace with that fact that there's no long range kicker here. We must just kick for line. We have a strong enough line out, and let the experienced guys play a bit more.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. I mean, there's nothing more to it because we've got the guys. We've got guys. So that's why I'm not going to panic, And even that, that play from the kickoff, I think, look, had it been executed well enough,
I don't have a problem.
I quite like that. They tried something different. You can see they were trying things. So hence why I'm saying that I'm not particularly worried because they felt that they could try things in this game. And for me, that shows the confidence of the group, because how else are you going to know? How else are you going to know if you don't try things in these big games, if you're scared to say, okay, let's see how, if we do this and do that. Yeah. So that in the event that you backed into that corner, you've got that, you've notched that under the belt. So yeah, guys, and come on.
Any closing remarks? Anything you want to see against Tonga? Any score predictions? I think these guys they better hope it rains because I'm thinking we're putting big numbers up in this game.
Yeah, we will have to put big numbers up. I think Tonga, it's going to be a physical game. Good. For us because we're going to want to bring that physicality. From the Heat's perspective, whatever. But technically, I think we better. We should be able to take our chances and put them away. 20 plus points, for me. Yeah. Over there. And then from there on, it's just the operation, bring it home, Yeah. That's all it is. After that, it's 3 big games after that.
Yeah, business end.
Yeah. So
that's I
think home. Leave them, let them be happy and celebrate and do those things. But when it counts, we'll take that thing off.
Yeah, that's it from us. That's it from us. That's it from me. Pay me and Willem, sir. Eben Betzer. Thanks for watching, guys.